Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. The threat of a global trade war is looming, with President Trump setting the tone for the G20 summit. He's lashed out at India for imposing what he says are unacceptable tariffs. The country targeted 28 US products earlier this month after Washington announced it was withdrawing India's preferential trade treatment. On Twitter, President Trump wrote, "I look forward to speaking with Prime Minister Modi about the fact that India, for years having put very high tariffs against the United States, just recently increased the tariffs even further. This is unacceptable and the tariffs must be withdrawn." Earlier, he took aim at China, saying Beijing wants to do a deal because the world's #2 economy is going down the tubes. World leaders have now arrived in Osaka for the two-day meeting, which gets underway tomorrow. Tensions over North Korea and Iran are also expected to be addressed. Police have seized 39 kilograms of cocaine from a Brazilian Air Force officer. He was due to accompany the president, Jair Bolsonaro, home from the G20 summit. The man was arrested in Seville with the drugs in his luggage. On Twitter, President Bolsonaro said if proved guilty, the officer would be judged and convicted by law. Concerns over the German Chancellor's health have been renewed after she was seen shaking at a public event. Angela Merkel looked uncomfortable while standing next to the country's president during a ceremony in Berlin. It's the second time this has happened in less than 2 weeks. She seemed to struggle while listening to national anthems when the Ukrainian president visited last Tuesday. A spokesman for the Chancellor dismissed the concerns, saying she is fine. At least 16 people were crushed to death and dozens of others injured during Independence Day celebrations in Madagascar. The bodies, including 3 children, were seen in the mortuary of a hospital in the capital. The stampede happened at a stadium where several thousand people had gathered for a concert following a traditional military parade. The country's president and prime minister were at the hospital to support the victims' families. 2 suicide bombers have launched separate attacks in the Tunisian capital. The first targeted a police patrol, killing 1 officer and injuring at least 4 other people. A second blast near a police station occurred soon after. The Interior Ministry says 4 people were wounded. Dozens of members of an Ethiopian opposition party have been arrested. It follows an alleged coup attempt in the country's Amhara state, which claimed the life of the army chief, General Sier Mukenen. Officials say he was shot by his bodyguard. The government's now said to be scrambling to contain a political crisis. Preparations are being made for the funerals of a man and his daughter who drowned trying to cross the Mexico-US border. Oscar Alberto Martinez and Valeria, who was almost 2 years old, were found face down on the banks of the Rio Grande River. Their bodies are being returned to El Salvador. His partner and mother of the child, Tania Avalos, is said to have witnessed their deaths.
Con un dolor muy profundo, está en un shock, ahora sí que permanente, y hemos respetado nosotros su privacidad, su privacidad, y nosotros como gobierno del Estado estamos solamente concluyendo lo que es la gestión legal en la Procuraduría en representación del Instituto Tamaulipeco para los Migrantes.
2 people were killed and at least 7 injured when a plane was forced to make an emergency landing in Siberia. Passengers filmed the disaster as it unfolded, the pilot losing control after the aircraft overshot the runway on landing. 47 people, including 4 crew, were on board when the plane hit a small building and caught fire. Local media say the flight was operated by Russian regional airline Angara. Record temperatures for the month of June have been set as Europe endures a scorching heat wave. The Met Office says hot air from the Sahara has engulfed the continent, pushing temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius. Forecasters are warning it's going to get even hotter across many countries over the next 3 days. The tinder-dry conditions and strong winds are also fueling fires in Spain. Thousands of acres have already been burnt and dozens of people have been evacuated from farmhouses in Catalonia. The regional government says it's one of the worst outbreaks the area has seen in 2 decades. Australia says it's urgently seeking information about a man who it's feared may have been detained in North Korea. 29-year-old student Alex Singley has been living in Pyongyang. His friends reported him missing earlier in the week, and his family says it's not had any contact with him since Tuesday. The government's described it a very serious set of circumstances. And finally, an Algerian teenager is being praised for saving the life of a 2-year-old girl in Turkey. Fuzi Zabat noticed the toddler was about to fall from a a second-floor window and positioned himself so he could catch her before she hit the ground. Because of his actions, Doha Mohammed escaped unscathed, suffering no injuries at all. The little girl's family have hailed him a hero. He says he simply did what was necessary. And that's your international news around the world in 5.